Hi, welcome to Sufra's World. Today I'm going to discuss the movie Bird Box. The movie came out a few weeks ago, and I've only just had a chance to watch it last night, so I'm a little late to the party. I tried to avoid all the reviews and spoilers, but of course, all my Facebook friends are horror writers, so I see the feeds every day of people going, I loved it, I hated it, ah. So for me, I enjoyed it. I think it's a real shame that A Quiet Place came out before it did because I'm pretty sure Bird Box existed before A Quiet Place. Bird Box, the book, came out a few years ago, I think late 2014, early 2015. I did meet Josh Mallerman at a writer's retreat that took place at the Stanley Hotel around that time. I remember people were talking about his book Bird Box, and everyone was all excited, and it was very original and unique and getting a lot of rave reviews. And then a couple years later, it was optioned for a movie, and now it's out on Netflix. So I have not read the book, and I hope that a lot of the issues I had with the movie would probably be handled in the book, and so maybe that would be a more satisfying experience. However, for the movie, which is the part more of the fault of screenwriter and director, is the biggest flaw I had with the movie was that I didn't care about any of the characters. I really didn't. And I've never been a huge Sandra Bullock fan, and I'm not really a big Sarah Paulson fan, so I didn't have a lot of empathy for them. And then I just found the premise pretty unbelievable. So the movie opens with Sandra Bullock telling two little kids that they're going on a river to keep your eyes shut and all that. And she's talking to them like it's new information. And these children have been living this way for 5 years. Both these kids are 5 years old. Their entire life has been spent with their eyes blindfolded or shut or living under blankets or in houses and stuff. So they already know the dangers, and the way she's talking, it's like it's new information, and it's not. It's very old information. It's their entire life has been lived this way. So why would it be any different because they're going on a boat? And maybe they've been on boats before. I don't know. So to me, right away, it just seemed dumb. These kids, I guess if you grow up like that, you're better behaved than other 5-year-olds. I have two boys, and I was a single mother for most of my child rearing years. And yeah, these children were not terribly believable by any stretch of the imagination. I also had a huge issue with a lot of convenient things that happen in the plot, and maybe in the book it's explained a little more. I'm not sure because I haven't read the book, but the idea that there are two women in the same safe house. Sandra Bullock stumbles into there right when all hell breaks loose, when the creatures come and people are running, and a lot of people are going crazy and killing themselves, whereas other people running into houses and hiding and barricading and stuff. So Sandra Bullock ends up in a house with a few people that we hang out with. And then our little cluster of people, it's the usual don't let people in scenario. Some people want to let people in, some people don't. It's your very typical morality play, and this could be happening in many houses all down the street. I don't know why their house existed and others didn't. It looked like a pretty rich neighborhood. It seems like all the houses would have had people in it. Anyway, so a pregnant woman comes knocking on the door and they let her in, but they didn't let other people in. And it's unclear how they knew that she was safe and the others weren't. And this pregnant woman is the exact same pregnancy as Sandra Bullock, which to me is just like, what? They lost me right away with that. Because the way the movie opens, you already know that mom's gonna die. You know that mom's going to die because Sandra Bullock's there by herself with two children the same age, and so you know that other mom's dying and everyone's dying. Everyone in that house obviously died. So there's zero suspense. That's my major problem with this movie is I had no suspense because I knew everyone was going to die. And I didn't believe these children for a minute, and I figured they were going to keep the children alive because that's how it is these days in these modern times. We're not allowed to kill kids and animals anymore in our horror stories. So there's no suspense, and it's too bad because there was no sense of are they going to live or die because they will. And so they're going down the boat, and then it's intercut with the flashbacks of how they got to that point. And although that worked really well with Versace, the miniseries Versace, that type of storytelling going backwards worked excellent with that story because it was masterfully written. And also with Versace, we already know the story because it's a true story ripped from the headlines. So it's more about understanding the pathology of Andrew Cunanan. Whereas in Bird Box, that type of storytelling, it's a fictional story, so we lose all suspense because we already know who's going to live or die. I had huge issues with how these people survived for 5 years. Theoretically, everyone in the world's gone except for this mom, couple of kids, and a dude, and they somehow survived for 5 years, even though in the very beginning they all like. A bunch of them went to a grocery store and they had to black out the car and drive over corpses and use the thing on the car. But when the car battery be dead after 5 years, where'd they get food? What food lasts for 5 years? Nothing lasts for 5 years. They showed them eating a Pop Tart before they go on the boat ride, and it's like a special little treat. And it's like even Pop Tarts don't last 5 years. I mean, look at those expiration dates on the box. They don't. Twinkies don't last that long. You know, there's was always the joke that Twinkies would last past a nuclear war, but then it was disproven. They expire too. So what are they eating for 5 years? I don't know. Where'd they get formula? Where'd they get diapers? How did they do the laundry? Is there running water? Where do they get water? Where do they get electricity? The electricity was working for a while at the beginning of the 5 year plan, but I don't know. Did they build windmills? How'd they see? It just, there were so many questions, and I'm sure they're answered in the book, but they're not answered in the movie, and it threw me out of the movie so much because I asked myself too many questions. I couldn't deal with those two women being pregnant at the same time, giving birth at the same time, and they both gave birth fine. Nobody got ripped open, nobody bled to death, nobody got infections. They managed to feed and clothe two newborn babies and raise them to 5 years old. Um, yeah, there's just too much fell apart for me. And the creatures, we never see them. I understand that. It's that Lovecraftian, oh, you look at it and you go mad idea, and that's fine. But the idea of the creatures were inconsistent because it seemed like some people could hear them, some couldn't. But if you look at them, you go crazy. But it seemed like maybe the creatures could hunt you, maybe they couldn't. Um, they're running through the woods near the end, and she can hear them. So, to me, the ending is that she died. That's what I think. I think she died and she ended up in her own bird box. The idea with the bird box is that birds can somehow tell when the creatures are nearby, so they flutter and yell. Um, I don't know what happened to any of the other animals in the world, dogs and cats, and why do birds survive and nothing else does? There's so many things that just hurt my head with. I don't understand how this world worked. And then so somehow she gets in her idea that these people on the radio are actually real people that, and they do have a sanctuary, so she's gonna try to go in a boat for a few days to get to it, even though other times she meets people and she doesn't believe they're real. I don't know how she tells the difference. And then to me, when they were saying, oh, listen to the sounds of the birds, all I could think of was how they had set up that if the birds are yelling, then that means the creatures are near. So they're going and listening for sounds of birds, and yeah, the creatures were chasing her or whatever through the thing, and then she gets to the final destination and it's full of birds and they're yelling. So is she dead? I think she died. I think she died on the river or near the river or down the river. She and the kids, they died at some point. And then so when she got to the sanctuary at the end, it actually really reminded me of Logan's Run at the end with Sanctuary and all that. Um, and she's in her own bird box because it's a covered place, which they don't establish that when you first get there. So I'm like, why is she outside? Why is she outside and looking at the sky? What's happening? And then we ultimately see that the roof is covered with vines and stuff, and they say, oh, and then the birds will tell the sighted people when uh, the monsters are coming because it's actually it was a school for the blind they ended up at. So of course the blind people don't see the monsters, so they're all safe. And then there are some sighted people there, and then of course a couple of characters we met earlier in the movie ended up there as well. But I think she was dead at the end because it didn't make sense to me how all this stuff went down. So it's an interesting movie. It gives you a lot of food for thought. I'll probably be thinking about it for a few days. I liked it just fine. Like I said, I wish it had come out before A Quiet Place because there's so many comparisons now that now Bird Box seems like an imitation of Quiet Place when in fact it was probably created before A Quiet Place. And but yeah, but at Quiet Place, like I said, I had a lot of issues with the things that went on there too. But I'm picky. But yeah, but go Bird Box a watch. It's on Netflix and read the book. And you know, if you have any answers to some of my musings, let me know in the comments. And also, if you want to keep track of what's going on in Sephra's world, whether I'm doing film reviews or yammering on about Star Wars or giving you your weekly or monthly horoscopes, tarot card readings, and so on, just subscribe to me and then hit the bell so you get notified when I upload new videos. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and I want to give a huge shout out to my patrons on Patreon who support me month to month. And without my patron support on Patreon, I probably wouldn't be able to do a lot of the things that I do. I get a lot of videos and writing done because I do have such magnificent support for my subscribers. So if you want to join me on Patreon, just go to the link there. And also you can see the video I made before this video when I realized that it wasn't, I can't upload the video I made before this one that I actually did. All right, so have a fantastic day. Let me know what you think about Bird Box. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Am I worrying too much about what happened during those 5 years? I don't know. Bye for now. Have a fantastic day.